All right, let me see. Oh, here's an interesting thing. This will like, it's not me droning on for a moment. Okay, now, talking more about Mars. The pressure and temperature on Mars are very, very low. The pressure is only about 1,000 or 10,000 of Earth's pressure. Very, very, very low. And the temperature is way below freezing on Mars, even at high noon on Mars. It's very, very cold. It's a completely inhospitable environment. It's so cold, in fact, that a lot of the white polar caps that you see on Mars isn't water ice at all. It's actually frozen carbon dioxide, dry ice. Now, so this video is about an interesting sort of experiment that was done by NASA scientists to try to understand a sort of odd terrain that was recently seen on Mars, a certain kind of grooved terrain, which we see some examples of on Earth, but there's some interesting differences too, and how they kind of concluded that it has something to do with the presence of dry ice on Mars. And so let me see if I can closed caption. It's usually fun to do the closed caption just because it's so horribly long. What's going on here?
Linear gullies because they're long troughs. They can extend up to 2 kilometers, which is just...
Sorry, lady.
We were looking at these strange features on Mars. They're what we call linear gullies because they're long troughs. They can extend up to 2 kilometers, which is just over a mile. And they're really strange because they go down and then they end abruptly in a pit. A lot of features on the Earth that are similar, they end in a debris apron because stuff has been moved from the top to the bottom. But these don't have the apron, they just have a pit at the end. So we were wondering how they could form. Frozen carbon dioxide accumulates on the surface, and we think that some of this accumulation will compress down and actually form ice slabs and ice blocks. We bought some frozen carbon dioxide, dry ice blocks, and we took it out to a dune slope and we put it down and we saw what happened. Most dune slopes will be at 33 degrees, and that's a nice steep slope. And so we did it with a water ice block, and the sand got wet and it didn't move. And we did it with a wooden block, and it moved 3 inches and then it stopped. The dry ice block, we expected to see a bit more activity, but we didn't expect it to just move and move and move and move and keep moving all the way to the bottom. But even on the other side of the dune, which is more like 6 degrees, it's very shallow. We put the block on and we pushed it and it would just slide right down. And the only reason it stopped is because it hit the bushes at the bottom. Dry ice, as it heats up, turns into gas. It pushes against the sand as it comes out. After a few hours, it's swooped out a nice little area, and so you have a feature that looks like what we see on Mars. They will move down that dune slope and carve out a shallow trough. When the block of ice is on the sand surface, that sand is just a little bit warmer, and so it causes a cushion of air to form. And that lifts that block just a little bit, so when it moves forward, it's like it's lubricated, and it can just slide very easily. And when it got to the bottom, instead of just sitting there, it would disappear as the area heated up, and then that could possibly leave a pit. I'm looking forward to the day when astronauts can engage in a whole new area of extreme sports. They could snowboard down these carbon dioxide covered dunes on a cushion of carbon dioxide. They would just shoot right down those slopes. It would be amazing.
Pretty cool, I thought. So what you see there is, well, it's kind of interesting because it's explaining this weird astronomical observation that we have these grooves that don't end in a pit, but they're in areas where there's frozen carbon dioxide, and it could actually be chunks of carbon dioxide breaking away and doing exactly what you said there. Which actually, when I was watching, I just realized that, has anybody heard of this thing called the Hyperloop? Which is, you heard of Tesla, the electric car company? The guy who owns that company, I guess, came up with this idea for super high-speed, some kind of sealed transit system in vehicles and tubes moving along. And I just remember a friend of mine told me the other day, the way that works is it's a sealed tube, and a car moves along with people and stuff in it, and it's going to go like 1,000 miles an hour, something insane like that. But you have to defeat friction somehow. So the way it works is there's an air cushion underneath the car, just like what we just saw. I mean, I saw that thing going down. I was thinking that's basically the idea of the Hyperloop. The car is levitating on a cushion of air. Absolutely nothing to do with astronomy. Just a little topical reference there. Okay, we'll be talking about the Earth's moon, of course. The Earth's moon is a very significant and kind of a singular moon, because it's a very massive moon for the size planet that we have here. Most planets have moons that are much smaller fractions of their mass. But our moon is about 1/80th the mass of the Earth, which is actually quite massive for a moon. That's why we have such pronounced tides on the Earth. And the tides may very well have something to do with the formation of life on Earth by creating the cycles that may have been necessary. But last year or so, a new theory started to be developed that there actually were two moons. Now, these aren't two different moons, these are just the two sides of our moon, the near side and the far side. But what we've known about the moon for some time is that the far side over here has less of these dark regions, which are called maria, and seem to represent ancient lava flows. So this is the near side of the moon. You know, the moon always shows the same side toward the Earth at all times. So that's the near side. And we see these black blotchy regions, which we think actually represent lava flows that were created because of Earth's gravity pulling on sort of molten guts of the moon. You know, billions of years ago, the moon was molten on the inside, and Earth's gravitational pull may have caused some of that lava to burst through and flood those regions. So they're on the near side, not the far side. So that sort of explains why we don't see the maria on the far side. But it's also known that there's actually a higher elevation over here. And so the theory now is that Earth actually had two moons, and they eventually coalesced, and one kind of soft landed on the other one. And they didn't really violently smash into each other and blast each other apart, because they were almost in the same orbit, about the same distance from the Earth. So it's almost like tailgating on the Beltway, very slowly. Didn't really plane right here. On Beltway today, but anyway. That the smaller moon eventually overtook our moon and just kind of soft landed. It must have been insane to see this thing. This really large object kind of just slowly collapsed onto the far side of the moon. And it actually explains some other operations that we'll be talking about. Okay.